Hi, it's Richard here from Intelligent Advisor Consulting with another in our long-running series of videos about Oracle Intelligent Advisor. This ties in with the series about how to get hands-on experience of Oracle Intelligent Advisor flows. And in this process, we've been talking about building a Hello World flow. And as an example, I've opened up this flow project. You can see that it's made up of two parts, a flow and rules. The flow is made up of several pieces, namely a page called page 1 and a section above it. If I edit the section, you'll see this is where we can tell the goal or goals of the flow and also the flow scheme that is used to build the flow. You'll recall from previous chapters that a flow scheme defines, amongst other things, the inputs, but also the controls and the properties, if you will, of the flow that you're going to build. So this flow scheme contains a variety of controls, a variety of data actions that I'm not actually going to use in this demo. This was one picked up from the examples in the documentation. So this is just a set of controls, some formatting data, some language parameters. It feels very much like a project properties file. So it will define what you can do when you build a flow using this scheme. So let's go back to our flow. And you can see in this example, if I go into the data, I've got two items here. I've got the interview flow is successful, a Boolean outcome, and I've got the magic number. You'll notice that when I click on them, it opens the rules tab and shows me where those fields are used. So in this particular rule block, you can see that it referenced the magic number. The magic number is an input, and the input is described on page 1 of my flow. You can see that I have a caption here, and underneath it says set value for, and it has set the value of that element called the magic number. These properties should look very familiar to you if you're working in OPM. You can set up whether it's visible all the time, whether it's read-only, and so on. I also have a label that uses substitution to display the value of my conclusion or my goal. So we'll expect to see true or false instead of the interview flow is successful. I've also got a static label just above it. So we should see something like the outcome true or the outcome false. And then I've got another static label right up the top. So building a page and adding labels and controls and using substitution should seem very familiar to you if you come from Oracle Policy Modeling. While I'm here, you can also see that in the list of controls are all of the controls that were in the flow scheme, another example of how the flow scheme defines what you can do in the flow. I've added another number, and I'm going to simply demonstrate how to do this by adding the caption. Made a bit of a mess of this, I'll correct all of that. And then I'll say set the value for the other number. This time round, I'm going to add some validation to say, well, for example, it's got to be at least 0. Excuse me, let's say it's got to be a whole number. And we can also delete the validations here. We can add another validation and say it's got to be a whole number and it should be at least 0. Optionally, we can change the error messages. I'm going to commit that flow version. So that's what it feels like creating a new item, and you'll notice now that the other number appears on the data tab to remind me that I've added this other number input element to my flow. I'm going to delete that because I don't need it for the next part of our Hello World demo. And then I'm going to make sure that I've committed the changes. And then I'm going to go to the Actions menu and deploy this version of the flow. So this should feel very familiar to you if you were previously someone who used manager permissions to deploy and activate projects from Oracle Policy Modeling. Now that we've got that, just to recall, we have a goal, which is to find out if the interview flow is successful, and the rule says it's successful if the magic number is 42. The rule block states that it's per case, which literally means per flow session. So there will only be one instance of the magic number. There won't be any entity or objects involved. And finally, a reminder that if you need to, you can add multiple documents to your flow project if you want. So that completes our Hello World example. See you in the next part.